Good morning, friends. Welcome to Gyan channel. Today we talk about normative theories. Normative theories of mass media. Normative theories are theories that seek to locate media structure and performance in the milieu in which they operate. They are observation of situation within which the press operate. The basic assumption of normative theory is that the press always takes on the form of coloration of the social and political structure within which it operates. They are theories that explain the expected operation of media under political and economical circumstances. The origin of normative theories of the press is seen from two opposing viewpoints. First is radical liberation, second is propaganda and mass society theory. Now we come to authorization theory. There are various theories on normative theories. First, we talk about authorization theory. This theory evolved in the 16th and 17th centuries with the invention of the printing press. The authoritarian theory views humans as subservient to the state. They held belief that the ruling elite should guide the masses, whose intellectual ability was held in low esteem. Public dissent and criticism were considered harmful to both government and the people and were not tolerated. The press in such a society is viewed as an instrument for disseminating the state's position to the public. Authoritarians used various devices to enforce cooperation of the press, including listening, censorship of material before publication, the granting of exclusive printing rights to favored units of the press, and the swift harsh punishment of government critics. In fact, in certain societies, not only is the press prohibited from criticizing the government, but it is also required to perform functions for the good of the state. These might include omitting certain news reports that would be embarrassing or harmful to the government and explaining their events in a light favorable to the ruling powers. Main principles of the theory can be briefly summarized as under. First is media should do nothing which could undermine established authority or disturb order. Media should always be subordinate to established authority. Censorship can be justified to enforce these principles. Media should avoid offense to majority or dominant moral and political values. Unacceptable attacks on authority, deviations from official policy, or offenses against moral codes should be criminal offenses. In communist countries and nations under dictatorial control, a free press is little more than a theory without practice. Now come to free press theory. It is also called liberation theory. Liberation theory developed slowly in the 16th century, being refined in the 18th century as libertarian principles found their way into nations' constitutional framework. In theory, a libertarian press is the exact opposite of an authoritarian press. Libertarians assume that human beings are rational and are capable of making their own decisions and that government exists to serve the individual. Unlike the authoritarians, libertarians hold that the common citizen has a right to hear all sides of the issue in order to distinguish truth from falsehood. Since any government restriction on the expression of ideas infringes on the rights of the citizen, the government can best serve the people by not interfering with the media. In short, the press must be free of control. Fred Seibert, in discussing the development of libertarian, credits its transition from authoritarian to the efforts of four men John Milton in the 17th century, John Erskine and Thomas Jefferson in the 18th century, and John Stuart Mill in the 19th century. Milton argued that people had the capacity to distinguish between right and wrong and good and bad. As a result, to make decisions, people should have unlimited access to the ideas and thoughts of other men. Erskine argued that people seeking to enlighten others and not intending to mislead, should be able to address the universal regions of the whole nation on what is believed to be true. John Stuart Mill believed that people had the right to think and act as they pleased if they did not infringe in the rights of others. Jefferson, borrowing from Milton's ideas, believed that the collective aggregate of the people, if intelligent and informed, could arrive at sound decisions. The press was the instrument to inform the people and therefore had to be free of control. Gradually, the rights of the press and libertarian began to gain ground and became part of constitutional doctrine both in the United States and later in England. This theory is criticized on the following ground. First, it is very unclear to what extent the theory can be held to apply to public broadcasting, which now accounts for a large part of media activity in many societies. Secondly, the theory has been most frequently formulated to protect the owners of media and cannot give equal expression to the arguable rights of editors and journalists within the press. Thirdly, the theory seems designed to protect opinion and belief and has much less to say on information. Fourthly, the theory prescribes compulsory control but provides no obvious way of handling the many pressures to which are subject. In nutshell, the theory can be expressed in the following principles. Publication should be free from any prior censorship. Attacks on any government official or political party should not be punishable even after the event. There should be no compulsion to publish anything, no restriction for gathering the information for publication. The act of publication and distribution should be open to a person, a group without license or permit. No restriction on getting or sending information overseas. Journalists should have professional autonomy within their organization. Now, coming to social responsibility theory. This theory was constructed in 1947 by the Commission on Freedom of the Press, a private organization financed by magazine publisher Henry Lewis. According to this theory, although the press had a right to criticize government and other institutions, it also had a responsibility to preserve democracy by properly informing the public and by responding to society's interests and needs. Probably the most significant contribution of the social responsibility theorists is their view that it is more important for citizens to have the right to access information. It is the press to achieve complete freedom of speech. Social responsibility theory has a wide range of applications since it covers several kinds of private, print media, and public institutions in broadcasting, which are answerable through various kinds of democratic procedure to the society. The theory has thus reconciled independence with obligation to society. It is assumed that the media do serve essential functions in society, especially in relation to democratic politics. Media should accept an obligation to fulfill those functions, not only in the sphere of information and the provision of a platform for diverse views, but also in matters of culture. It should give maximum emphasis on media independence, consistent with their obligations to society. The theory states that media should also follow certain standards in work. Main principle of the theory can be stated as media should accept and fulfill certain obligations to society by setting high or professional standards in truth, accuracy, objectivity, and balance, etc. In accepting and applying these obligations, media should be self regulating within the framework of law and established institutions. Journalists and media professionals should be accountable to society as well as to employers. The theory was constructed in 1947 by Commission on Freedom of the Press, a private organization financed by magazine publisher Henry Lewis. According to this theory, although the press had a right to criticize government and other institutions, it also had a responsibility to preserve democracy by properly informing the public and by responding to society's interests and its needs. Probably the most significant contribution of the social responsibility theorists is their view that it is more important for citizens to have a right to access to information than it is to the press to achieve complete freedom of speech. It's not enough that increasing by large media and economic structures have freedom to do as they please. They are also obliged to respond to society needs. Social responsibility theory has a wide range of applications since it covers several kinds of private, print media, and public institutions of broadcasting which are answerable through various kinds of democratic procedure of the society. The theory states that media should also follow certain standards in work. Main principle of the theory can be stated. Firstly, media should accept and fulfill certain obligations society. In accepting applying these obligations, media should self-regulating within the framework of law and established institutions. Journalism and media professionals should be accountable to society. Now we talk about communist media theory or social Soviet media theory. Wilbur Scrum, while writing this theory, began his discussion by noting that when a reporter from the United States and one from the Soviet Union got together, the talk is apt to be both amusing and frustrating. The American lost the Soviet reporter's life with a government controlled press. The Soviet reporter lost the American association with a corrupt, venal, irresponsible press controlled by special interests. Russian press and other media were completely recognized after the revolution of 1917. The theory is derived from the basic postulates of Marx and Engels. It envisages media to be under the control of the working class. To understand the Soviet media theory of the press, one must examine the Soviet interpretation of the word freedom. The Soviet constitution guaranteed both free speech and free press. This joining together of the people into a classless society has become the philosophy of the Soviet state. The freedom from the Soviet point of view is freedom from the oppression of a upper, middle, and lower class. Scrum explains that mass communication in the Soviet media theory is an instrument of the state. It doesn't have integrity of its own. Theory can be summarized as media should not be privately owned. It should serve the interests of and be in control of the working class. Media should respond to wishes and freedoms of their audience. Media should serve positive functions for society by education, information, motivation, and mobilization. Society has a right to punish for the anti-social publication. Media should provide a complete and objective view of society. Journalists' aims and ideals should coincide with the best interests of the society. Now we talk about development communication theory. The limited application of four established theories of the press to third world countries has led to birth of this theory whose main task is that communication be used to carry out the development functions of the society. The normative elements of this theory are opposed to dependency and foreign domination and to arbitrary authoritarian. For positive usage of media in national development, for ties autonomy and cultural identity of the particular national society. The main principles of the theory can be summarized. Some that media should accept and carry out positive development tasks in line with national established established policy. Media should give priority to national culture and language. Freedom of media should be restricted to an extent keeping in view the economic priorities and development needs of the society. Journalists and other media workers have responsibilities as well as freedom of their information gathering and dissemination tasks. Dennis McQuell states that it is most difficult to formulate this theory, partly because it lacks full legitimization and incorporation into media institutions, and partly because some of its tenets are already to be found in some of other theories. The main feature of the democratic participant theory relates to the needs, interests, and aspirations of the active receiver in a political society. It is concerned with the right of relevant information, right to answer back, right to use the means of communication for interaction in small scale settings of society, interest, community, group, and subculture. Main principle of theory can be stated as firstly, individual citizens and minority groups have rights to communicate. Secondly, groups, organizations, and social communities should have their own media. Thirdly, the organization and content of media should not be subject to centralized political or state bureaucratic control. Small scale interactive and participative media focus is better than large scale one way of professionalized media. Now come to the hegemony theory. The theory derived from Gramscian Marxism that an elite controls the mass media and that the media promotes the dominant ideology. The audience is not necessarily compliant. Corporate media hegemony refers to the global dominance and influence of powerful commercial mass media organizations and transnational elite. Western media hegemony refers to the perception that global news media are dominated by Eurocentric values and perspectives. Critics argue that the concept reflects reification and determination and underestimates the contestation highlighted by Gramsci. Media hegemony is a perceived process by which certain values and ways of thoughts promulgated through the mass media become dominant in society. It is seen in particular as reinforcing the capitalist system. Media hegemony has been presented in influencing the way in which reporters in the media themselves subject to prevailing values and norms select news theories, stories and put them across. The concept of hegemony, first put forward by Antonio Gramsci in 1971, refers to the moral, philosophical, and political leadership of a social group which gained by an active consent of other social groups obtained by taking control of culture and ideology. During the process of leading social group exerts its impact and gains its legitimacy mainly through social mechanisms such as education, religion, family, and the mass media. Based on the definition of hegemony, media hegemony means the definition of certain aspects of life and thought by the penetration of a dominant culture and its values into social life. In other words, media hegemony serves as a crucial shaper of culture, values, and ideology of society. Media hegemony is said to operate in several ways within news reporting. Firstly, the socialization of reporters, including guidance, work, norms, and orientations, will be greatly influenced by the dominant ideology. Specialization of journalists means that they are socialized into professional and organizational norms. Further, reporters are inclined to choose and report those issues that are favorable to the dominant ideology and the status quo. This selection process hinders social change by diffusing conservative news reports of the public. To a large extent, the information of public opinion is based on the information spread by status quo oriented news media. Finally, reporters tend to report these news stories that are supportive of their nation and negative to foreign nations in globalized communication. It is believed that prejudiced news reporting will hinder international social change. News media may shape negative stereotypes of foreign countries, values, and ideology are disseminated through international social communication to exert an impact on people in foreign nations. Now, here we come to the conclusion of this lecture. I hope you liked it. Thank you.